Lena walked into the wrong room and straight into Silas Granger's guarded heart. What started as a mistaken interview becomes a collision of loneliness, art, and the courage to fight for love. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Silas Granger stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office on the 40th floor. The city of San Francisco spread out below him like a circuit board. He was 30 years old and worth more money than most people could count. His tech company had changed how the world used smartphones, but none of that mattered right now. Today was interview day, the day he dreaded most. "Mr. Granger?" His assistant Carol knocked on the door. "The first candidate is here." Silas didn't turn around. "Send them to conference room A. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Carol hesitated. "Sir, are you sure you don't want me to handle the preliminary interviews? You seem—" "I'm fine, Carol." Silas's voice was flat. He wasn't fine. He never was when he had to talk to new people. But the company needed the best app designers money could buy, and he was the only one who could spot real talent. Silas had been raised by nannies and tutors. His parents traveled constantly for their own business empire. He learned early that quiet meant safe. That keeping to himself meant no one could hurt him or leave him. Now at 30, he had everything except the one thing he'd never learned how to get: human connection. The elevator dinged on the 3rd floor. Lena Brown stepped out, clutching a folder with her resume. She was 26, with warm brown skin and eyes that sparkled when she got excited about something. Today, those eyes were nervous. "Excuse me," she said to the receptionist. "I'm here for the receptionist position interview." The receptionist, a young man named David, looked confused. "Oh, you must be the 10 o'clock appointment. Conference room A is down the hall. Mr. Granger is waiting." Lena blinked. "Mr. Granger? But I thought—" "Just follow the signs," David said, already answering his ringing phone. Lena walked down the hallway, her heart pounding. She'd been out of work for 3 months. Her art wasn't selling, and her savings were almost gone. She needed this job, even if it was just answering phones. She found conference room A and knocked gently. "Come in," came a voice from inside. Lena opened the door and stepped into the most beautiful room she'd ever seen. Glass walls, modern furniture, and a view that took her breath away. At the head of a long table sat a man in an expensive suit. He was tall, with dark hair and the palest blue eyes she'd ever seen. He looked up from his papers and froze. "I'm sorry," Lena said quickly. "I think there might be a mistake. I'm here about the receptionist job." Silas stared at her. Something strange happened in his chest, a flutter he'd never felt before. She was beautiful, but that wasn't what stopped him cold. It was the way she looked around the room with wonder instead of greed, the way she seemed nervous but not fake. "Please," he said softly. "Sit down." Lena sat in the chair across from him, still confused. "I really think there's been a mix-up. I'm Lena Brown. I submitted my resume for the receptionist position on the 3rd floor." Silas should have corrected her, should have called Carol to straighten out the confusion, but he didn't want her to leave. Not yet. "Tell me about yourself," he said instead. Lena took a breath. "Well, I'm an artist. I paint mostly, but I also do some design work. I know that doesn't sound like receptionist experience, but I'm really good with people. I'm organized, I learn fast, and I really need this job." "What kind of art do you do?" Lena's face lit up. "Abstract, mostly. I try to capture emotions in color and shape. I know that sounds silly, but I believe everything has a feeling to it. Even buildings, even technology. Everything has a soul, if you look hard enough." Silas felt his breath catch. No one had ever talked to him about souls before, about feelings. His world was all numbers and code and profit margins. "That's not silly," he said quietly. "Really?" Lena smiled, and Silas felt that flutter again. "Most people think artists are just dreamers who can't get real jobs. I don't think that." They sat in silence for a moment. Lena looked around the room again. "This is a beautiful space. The person who designed it understood that work doesn't have to feel cold. The glass brings in light, but the warm wood keeps it from feeling sterile. It's like they wanted people to feel inspired here." Silas had designed that room himself. He'd spent months getting every detail right, but he'd never heard anyone describe it the way she just had. "What do you think about technology?" he asked. Lena tilted her head. "That's an interesting question for a receptionist interview. Humor me." "Well," Lena said slowly, "I think technology is like art. It should make people feel something. The best apps, the best websites, they don't just work. They connect with you. They make complicated things simple, or they help you do something you couldn't do before. But a lot of tech feels empty to me, like the people who made it forgot that real people would be using it. Silas leaned forward. Go on. I think every button, every screen, every interaction should feel like a conversation. Like the app is speaking to you in a language you understand. Colors matter. Shapes matter. The way things move across the screen matters. It's all about emotion. Silas had never heard anyone outside of his team talk about user experience, but Lena wasn't talking about it like a designer. She was talking about it like an artist, like someone who understood that technology could touch people's hearts. Have you ever designed an app? He asked. Oh no, Lena laughed. I can barely use half the apps on my phone. I just notice things, I guess. I notice how things make me feel. The door opened suddenly. Carol rushed in, looking flustered. Mr. Granger, I'm so sorry. There's been a terrible mix-up. This young lady was supposed to be interviewed for the receptionist position downstairs. The app designer candidates are still in the lobby. Lena's face went red. I knew it. I'm so sorry, Mr. Granger. I told them I thought there was a mistake. She started to stand up, but Silas held up his hand. Wait, he said. Carol looked confused. Sir? Silas looked at Lena, who was gathering her things with embarrassment. Something inside him was screaming not to let her go. For the first time in his adult life, he'd had a conversation that felt real, that felt like it mattered. Cancel the other interviews, he said quietly. Sir? Carol blinked. Cancel them. I've found what I was looking for. Lena stopped moving. I don't understand. Silas stood up. He was tall, probably 6 feet, and when he moved carefully, like he was afraid of taking up too much space. I want to offer you a position, he said, not as a receptionist, as a creative UX liaison. A what? Lena and Carol said at the same time. It's a new position. I'm creating it right now. Silas's voice was getting stronger. You'll work with our design team to make sure our products connect with people emotionally. You'll be the voice of the user, who isn't a programmer or a designer. You'll help us remember that technology should have a soul. Lena stared at him. But I don't know anything about technology. You know about people, you know about feelings, that's what we're missing. Carol cleared her throat. Mr. Granger, don't you think you should discuss this with the board first? No, Silas said firmly. It's my company, my decision. He looked at Lena. The salary is $60,000 to start. Health benefits. 2 weeks paid vacation. You'll have your own office and a budget for art supplies. What do you say? Lena's mouth fell open. 60,000, but I was applying for a job that paid 30. This isn't that job. This is a job that doesn't exist yet. A job I'm creating because I think you're exactly what this company needs. Lena looked around the room, then back at Silas. There was something in his eyes that made her heart skip. Not just professional interest, something deeper, something lonely. Why? She asked softly. Why me? Silas was quiet for a long moment. Because in 15 minutes you made me see my own building differently. You made me think about things I'd never thought about before. And because... He paused, looking down at his hands. Because I think you're the first person who's ever talked to me like I was a real person, not just a name on a business card. The room went silent. Carol shifted uncomfortably. Lena felt her heart do something strange in her chest. I'll take it, she said. Silas looked up, and for just a moment his careful mask slipped. He almost smiled. Good. Carol will get you set up with HR. You start Monday. Thank you, Lena said. I won't let you down. I know you won't. As Lena left with Carol, Silas stood alone in the conference room. He walked back to the windows and looked out at the city. For the first time in years, he felt something other than empty. That weekend, Silas did something he'd never done before. He went to an art gallery, not because he had to for business, but because he wanted to understand what Lena saw when she looked at the world. He stood in front of a painting that was just colors and shapes, like she'd described, and slowly, he began to see what she meant. The painting wasn't just random brushstrokes, it was loneliness. It was hope. It was all the things he felt but had never known how to name. He bought the painting, not because it was an investment, but because looking at it made him think of her. Monday morning came too slowly and too fast. Silas got to the office early, which wasn't unusual, but standing by the elevator, waiting for it to ding on the 3rd floor, was definitely unusual. When Lena stepped out, she looked different. Professional, but still herself. She wore a simple black dress and had her hair pulled back, but her eyes still had that spark. Good morning, Mr. Granger, she said. Silas, he said quietly. Just Silas. She smiled. Good morning, Silas. He showed her to her new office. It was smaller than his, but it had a good view and plenty of natural light. He'd had Carol stock it with art supplies and a few books about design. "This is really mine?" Lena asked, running her hand along the desk. "It's really yours." She turned to face him. "I still can't believe this is happening." "Believe it." Silas stood in the doorway, not quite coming into her space. "I'll have Carol introduce you to the design team this afternoon. But first I'd like to show you what we're working on." For the next hour, Silas walked Lena through their current projects. He showed her apps and websites, explained how they worked, asked for her thoughts. And slowly, she began to understand what he'd seen in her. "This one," she said, pointing to a fitness app. "It's too aggressive, all these red colors and sharp angles. It makes me feel like I'm being yelled at." "It's supposed to be motivating," Silas said. "But what if motivation doesn't look the same for everyone? What if some people need to feel supported instead of pushed?" Silas made a note. What would support look like? Softer colors, rounded edges, maybe a voice that says, "You're doing great," instead of "push harder." "That's good," Silas said. "That's exactly the kind of thinking we need." As the day went on, Lena met the design team. They were young, smart, and a little skeptical of the new girl who'd gotten hired without a tech background. But when she started talking about user experience in terms of emotion and connection, they began to listen. "She's right," said Marcus, the lead designer, after Lena suggested changes to a banking app. "People are scared of money apps. We should make them feel safe, not intimidated." By the end of the day, Lena had filled a notebook with ideas. Her head was spinning with possibilities. As she packed up her things, there was a soft knock on her door. "Come in," she called. Silas stepped inside, carrying a small wrapped package. "How was your first day?" "Amazing, overwhelming, exciting. I think I love it here." "I'm glad." He held out the package. "I brought you something." Lena took it, surprised. "What is it?" "Open it." Inside was a leather-bound sketchbook, beautiful and expensive. On the cover, in elegant script, were the words, "Creative UX Liaison, Lena Brown." "Silas," she breathed, "this is beautiful. I thought you might want to keep your ideas somewhere special." Lena looked up at him. He was standing carefully by the door, like he was afraid to come too close, but his eyes were warm, and she could see something in them that made her heart skip again. "Thank you," she said softly. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." They stood there for a moment, looking at each other. Lena felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not just gratitude, but genuine warmth for another person. "Silas?" she said. "Yes? Are you always this thoughtful with your employees?" He was quiet for a long moment. "No," he said finally. "I'm not." The honesty in his voice made something flutter in Lena's chest. She realized that this wasn't just about work for him. Maybe it wasn't just about work for her either. "I should let you go," Silas said. "It's getting late." "Right, of course." But neither of them moved. They stood there in her office with the city lights starting to twinkle outside her window, and something passed between them that neither of them quite understood yet. "Lena?" Silas said quietly. "Yes?" "I'm glad you walked into the wrong room." She smiled. "So am I." After she left, Silas stood in her office for a long time. He looked at the art supplies on her desk, the books she'd already started reading, the way she'd arranged her space to make it feel warm and welcoming. For 30 years, he'd lived in a world of glass and steel and careful distances, but now, for the first time, he was beginning to understand what it might feel like to let someone in. He just didn't know if he was brave enough to try. 3 weeks passed like a dream. Lena threw herself into her new job with passion she'd forgotten she had. Every morning, she'd find a small gift on her desk, a cup of her favorite coffee, still warm, a book about color theory, a single flower in a simple vase. She never saw Silas leave them, but she knew they were from him. The design team had accepted her completely. Her suggestions were making their apps better, more human. But it was the quiet moments with Silas that made her heart race. He'd started stopping by her office every afternoon around 3, always with a work question, but the conversations would drift to other things: art, music, books, dreams they'd had as children. "I wanted to be a painter when I was little," Silas admitted one afternoon, sitting across from her desk. "Before my parents explained that wasn't practical." "It's never too late," Lena said. "I could teach you." The offer hung in the air between them. Silas looked at her with something like wonder. "You would do that?" "Of course. Art isn't about being perfect. It's about expressing what's inside you." Silas was quiet for a long moment. "I don't think I know what's inside me anymore." Lena's heart ached for him. She could see the loneliness in his eyes, the way he held himself apart from everyone, even her. Maybe that's what we need to find out, she said gently. That evening, Lena stayed late to finish a project. The office was empty except for the cleaning crew. She was gathering her things when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Silas appeared in her doorway. "You're still here," he said. "Just finishing up. What about you?" "I live here most nights," he said, then seemed to realize how that sounded. "I mean, I work late. I have an apartment upstairs." "You live in the building?" Silas looked embarrassed. "It's convenient and quiet." Lena studied his face. "When's the last time you went somewhere just for fun?" "Fun?" He said the word like it was foreign. "Yes, fun. Movies, dinner with friends, a walk in the park, normal people things." "I don't really do normal people things." "Why not?" Silas was quiet for a long moment. "Because I don't know how. Because I've never had anyone to do them with." The admission hung between them. Lena felt her heart break a little for this man who had everything and nothing at the same time. "Have dinner with me," she said impulsively. Silas looked startled. "What? Have dinner with me? Tonight? Not work dinner, not business dinner, just dinner. I don't know if that's appropriate. You work for me. I'm not asking as your employee. I'm asking as your friend." Friend. The word hit Silas like a physical blow. He couldn't remember the last time someone had called him friend. "I wouldn't know what to talk about," he said quietly. "We'll figure it out." An hour later, they were sitting in a small Italian restaurant a few blocks from the office. Lena had chosen it because it was warm and cozy, the kind of place where conversation came naturally. Silas looked uncomfortable in the casual setting. He kept glancing around like he expected someone to recognize him. "Relax," Lena said. "It's just dinner." "I don't eat out much," he admitted. "What do you usually eat?" "Carol orders me lunch. At night, I have groceries delivered to my apartment." "You don't cook?" "I never learned." Lena shook her head. "We need to fix that. Cooking is one of life's great pleasures. I wouldn't know where to start. I could teach you. Like the painting." Again, that look of wonder crossed his face. "You keep offering to teach me things." "Because I like you," Lena said simply, "and because I think you've spent too much time alone." Their food arrived, and slowly, Silas began to relax. He asked Lena about her childhood, her family, her dreams. She told him about growing up in Oakland, about her mother who worked 3 jobs to support them, about the art teacher who first showed her that colors could speak. "What about your parents?" Lena asked. Silas's face closed off. "They travel. Business, I don't see them much." "When's the last time you talked to them?" "Christmas, they called from Switzerland." "That's it? A phone call?" "It's enough," Silas said, but his voice was hollow. Lena reached across the table and touched his hand. It was the first time she'd touched him, and Silas froze. "I'm sorry," she said, starting to pull away. "No," he said quickly, covering her hand with his other one. "Don't. It's just, I'm not used to what? To being touched. To someone caring enough to touch me." Lena's heart broke completely. "Oh, Silas." They sat there with their hands joined across the table, and something shifted between them, something deeper than friendship, more complex than attraction. "I should probably go," Silas said finally, but he didn't move his hand. "Should you, or do you want to?" "I want to stay," he admitted, "but I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "This. Whatever this is. I don't know how to be close to someone." Lena squeezed his hand gently. "You don't have to know how, you just have to be willing to try." They walked back to the office building together. The night air was cool, and their footsteps echoed in the empty streets. "Thank you," Silas said as they reached the lobby. "For dinner, for everything. Thank you for saying yes." He looked at her in the soft light of the lobby. "Lena." "Yes?" "I'd like to try. The cooking lessons, the painting, all of it," she smiled. "I'd like that too." The next few weeks changed everything. Lena started coming to Silas's apartment after work to teach him to cook. His kitchen was enormous and barely used, with every expensive gadget imaginable, but no warmth. "This place is beautiful," Lena said the first night, looking around at the sleek surfaces and floor-to-ceiling windows. "But it doesn't feel like home." "It's just where I sleep," Silas said. "A home should be more than that. It should be your sanctuary." She helped him make simple pasta that first night, stood behind him at the stove, guiding his hands as he stirred the sauce. The closeness made Silas's heart race, but he didn't pull away. "You're a natural," she said, when they sat down to eat. "I had a good teacher." They ate by candlelight, talking about everything and nothing. Silas told her about his childhood, about being raised by people who were paid to care for him, about learning early that love was something other people had. "That's not true," Lena said firmly. "Everyone deserves love. Everyone can learn to give it and receive it. Even me, especially you. On Friday nights, she brought art supplies to his apartment. They'd push aside the furniture in his living room and spread paper on the floor. Lena would show him how to hold a brush, how to let the colors flow. "Don't think so much," she'd say, sitting beside him as he hesitated over the canvas. "Just feel. I don't know what I feel." Then paint that. Paint not knowing. Slowly, Silas began to create. His paintings were awkward at first, but honest. Dark colors giving way to light. Harsh lines softening into curves. Lena could see his journey in every brushstroke. "It's beautiful," she said one night, looking at his latest work. "It's messy. Beauty is messy, love is messy, life is messy." Silas looked at her. "Is that what this is? Love?" The question hung between them. Lena felt her breath catch. "I don't know," she said honestly. "What do you think it is?" "I think," Silas said slowly, "that I've never felt anything like this before. I think I look forward to seeing you every morning more than I've ever looked forward to anything. I think when you're not here, the world feels gray again." "Silas, I think I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "But I don't know if I know how to love someone properly." Lena's heart pounded. "There's no proper way. There's just honest and dishonest, real and fake." "This feels real," he said. "Terrifyingly real." "Love is terrifying," she agreed, "but it's also the most beautiful thing in the world." They were sitting on the floor of his living room, surrounded by paintings and the smell of acrylic paint. The city sparkled outside his windows, but all Silas could see was her. "I want to try," he said. "I want to learn how to love you the way you deserve." "You already are," Lena said softly. "Every day, in 100 small ways, you already are." He reached for her hand, and this time he didn't hesitate. Their fingers intertwined, and Silas felt something click into place in his chest, something that had been missing his whole life. "Can I tell you something?" Lena said. "Anything. I'm falling in love with you too. I have been since that first day in the conference room, but I was scared because I could see how much you've been hurt, how alone you've been. I didn't want to push you. You're not pushing me. You're saving me." "No," Lena said firmly. "You're saving yourself. I'm just here to remind you that you're worth saving." They sat there in comfortable silence, holding hands among the paintings that told the story of Silas learning to feel again. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we keep learning, keep growing, keep being honest with each other. What if I mess this up? What if I don't know how to be what you need? Then we'll figure it out together." That's what love is, Silas. It's not knowing all the answers. It's being willing to find them with someone else. At work, things began to change too. People noticed that Silas was different. He smiled more. He was more patient in meetings. He actually listened when people talked instead of just waiting for them to finish. "Whatever you're doing to the boss," Marcus told Lena one afternoon, "keep doing it. He's actually human now." Lena laughed, but she felt a warmth in her chest. She was changing too. Her art was becoming bolder, more vibrant. Her ideas at work were flowing freely. For the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. But happiness, Lena had learned, was a fragile thing. And just when everything seemed perfect, the universe had a way of testing you. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday morning. Silas was in a meeting when Carol knocked on Lena's office door. "There's someone here to see you," Carol said, looking uncomfortable. "Who is it?" "She says she's Mr. Granger's mother." Lena's blood went cold. Silas had mentioned his parents maybe 3 times in all their conversations, and never with warmth. "Send her in," Lena said, standing up and smoothing her dress. The woman who walked into her office was everything Lena had expected, and nothing like she'd hoped. Tall, elegant, cold as winter. She wore a suit that probably cost more than Lena made in a month, and looked at Lena's office like it was a particularly distasteful insect. "Miss Brown," she said, not offering her hand. "I'm Victoria Granger, Silas's mother." "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Granger. Silas has mentioned you." "I'm sure he has. May I sit?" "Of course." Victoria sat across from Lena's desk, her back straight as a ruler. "I'll be direct, Miss Brown. I know about your relationship with my son." Lena felt her heart start to race. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Please, I have people who keep me informed about Silas's activities. Dinner dates, evenings at his apartment, the way he looks at you in the office. It's all very inappropriate." "There's nothing inappropriate about our relationship," Lena said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Isn't there? You're his employee. He's your boss. And let's be honest about what you are and what he is." The words hit Lena like a slap. "Excuse me?" You're a struggling artist from Oakland who was applying for a receptionist job. He's worth more than some small countries. Surely you can see how this looks. It looks like two people who care about each other. Victoria smiled, but it was sharp as a knife. Does it? Or does it look like a clever young woman who saw an opportunity and took it? That's not what this is, isn't it? Tell me, Miss Brown, what exactly do you bring to this relationship besides your charm? Lena felt tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I love your son. Love. Victoria said the word like it tasted bad. How convenient. And I'm sure that love has nothing to do with his money, his company, his social position. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. I know that you've been filling his head with romantic nonsense. Art lessons, cooking lessons, playing house in his apartment. You're turning him soft, Miss Brown, weak. I'm helping him become human. He doesn't need to be human. He needs to be strong. He needs to be focused. He needs to marry someone appropriate and produce heirs and run his company without distractions. Is that what you told him his whole life? That love was a distraction? Victoria's eyes went cold. Love is a luxury that people like Silas can't afford. I'm here to make sure you understand that. And if I don't, then I'll make sure he does. The threat hung in the air like poison. Lena felt sick to her stomach. He's not a child anymore, she said. You can't control his life. Can't I? I think you underestimate a mother's influence, Miss Brown, especially when that mother controls the family trust fund that keeps his company afloat. Lena's heart sank. You wouldn't. I would do anything to protect my son from making a mistake that could ruin his life. And you, my dear, are exactly that kind of mistake. Victoria stood up, smoothing her skirt. I'll give you a week to end this relationship and find another job, somewhere far from here. If you don't, I'll do it for you. And I promise you won't like my methods. She walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Miss Brown, if you truly love my son, you'll do what's best for him. And what's best for him is a life without you in it. After she left, Lena sat alone in her office, shaking. The beautiful space that had felt like home now felt like a prison. The art supplies on her desk looked like evidence of a crime. She thought about Silas, probably still in his meeting, unaware that his world was about to come crashing down. She thought about the way he looked at her, the way he'd learned to laugh, the way he'd started to believe that he deserved love. And she thought about Victoria Granger's words. What exactly did she bring to this relationship? Was she really helping Silas, or was she holding him back? Was their love real, or was she just a distraction from the life he was supposed to live? For the first time since she'd walked into that conference room, Lena began to doubt everything. For 3 days, Lena said nothing. She went to work, did her job, and pretended everything was normal. But Silas could tell something was wrong. She wouldn't look him in the eyes. She found excuses to skip their afternoon talks. When he asked about cooking lessons, she said she was too busy. What's wrong? He asked on Thursday, cornering her in her office after everyone else had gone home. Nothing's wrong, Lena said, not looking up from her computer. Don't lie to me, you've been different all week. I'm just tired. Silas closed the door and sat down across from her desk. Lena, look at me. Reluctantly, she raised her eyes. He could see the pain there, the doubt. What happened? He asked gently. For a moment, Lena almost told him everything. About his mother's visit, the threats, the cruel words that had been echoing in her head for days. But then she remembered Victoria's warning about what would happen if she didn't handle this herself. I think we're moving too fast, she said instead. Silas felt like he'd been punched. What do you mean? I mean this. Us. Whatever this is. It's complicated because we work together. People are starting to talk. I don't care what people say. Well, I do. The lie tasted bitter in her mouth. I have a career to think about. A reputation. Since when do you care about reputation? Since your mother threatened to destroy both our lives, Lena thought, but she couldn't say that. I've been thinking about what you said, she continued, forcing herself to sound calm, about not knowing how to love someone properly. Maybe you were right. Maybe we should slow down. Silas stared at her. I don't understand. 3 days ago you told me you were falling in love with me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was caught up in the moment. You're lying. I'm not. Yes, you are. I can see it in your eyes. Something happened. Someone said something to you. Lena's heart pounded. He knew her too well. Nothing happened, she insisted. I just think we should keep things professional. Silas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Are you saying you don't want to see me anymore outside of work? Lena closed her eyes. This was the hardest thing she'd ever had to do. I'm saying maybe that would be best. The silence stretched between them like a chasm. When Lena opened her eyes, Silas looked like she'd broken something inside him. "I see," he said quietly. He stood up slowly, like an old man. "I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I'm sorry if I pushed too hard." "Silas, you didn't—" "No, it's fine. You're right. We work together. It was inappropriate of me to assume, to hope." He couldn't finish the sentence. He walked to the door, then stopped without turning around. "Thank you," he said, "for the lessons, for showing me what it felt like to be alive for a while." After he left, Lena put her head down on her desk and cried until she had no tears left. The next week was torture. Silas became a ghost of himself again. He stopped the afternoon visits, stopped the small gifts, stopped smiling. In meetings, he was polite but distant with Lena, treating her exactly like any other employee. The design team noticed immediately. "What did you do to him?" Marcus asked Lena on Tuesday. "He's back to being the Ice King." "I didn't do anything," Lena said. "Come on, we all saw how he was with you, and now he's acting like you don't exist." Lena felt sick. She was hurting Silas exactly the way Victoria had wanted, and she was dying inside. That afternoon, Carol knocked on her door. "Mr. Granger wants to see you in his office," she said. Lena's heart raced as she walked down the hall. She knocked on his door and entered when he called out. Silas was standing by his windows, looking out at the city. He didn't turn around when she came in. "Close the door," he said. She did, then stood waiting. "I've been thinking about what you said," he began, still not looking at her, "about keeping things professional. You're right, of course. It was a mistake to let my personal feelings interfere with work. Silas, I'm transferring you to the Seattle office." The words hit her like a physical blow. "What? It's a promotion. You'll be heading up their new user experience department. Better salary, better benefits, your own team." "I don't want to go to Seattle." "It's not really a request," he said, finally turning around. His face was a mask, but she could see the pain in his eyes. "It's what's best for everyone. You're firing me. I'm promoting you. Far away from here, where you won't have to worry about inappropriate workplace relationships." Lena felt anger flare up alongside her heartbreak. "This isn't what I wanted, isn't it? You wanted things to be professional. You wanted distance. This gives you both. I never asked you to transfer me." "No, but someone did." The words hung in the air. Lena felt her blood turn to ice. "What do you mean?" Silas walked to his desk and picked up a folder. "My mother paid me a visit yesterday. Interesting conversation. She told me about her chat with you last week." Lena's world tilted. "She told you?" "She told me everything. The threats, the ultimatum, the things she said to you." His voice was deadly calm. "She thought I should know what kind of person I was involved with." "What kind of person?" "The kind who would walk away instead of fighting for what she claims to love." The accusation hit her like a slap. "That's not fair, isn't it?" Silas's control finally cracked. "She threatened you, and instead of coming to me, instead of trusting me, you decided to sacrifice our relationship to protect me. Did it ever occur to you that maybe I didn't want your protection? She said she would destroy your company. She said she controlled your funding. She lied." Lena stared at him. "What?" "She lied. My company has been self-sufficient for 3 years. She has no financial control over me or my business. She never did. But she said what she always says. Whatever she thinks will get her what she wants, and it worked, didn't it? You believed her instead of believing in us." Lena felt like the floor was falling out from under her. "I was trying to protect you." "From what?" "From being happy. From finally having someone who cares about me. From losing everything because of me." "I already lost everything," Silas said quietly. "The moment you walked away, I lost the only thing that ever mattered." Tears ran down Lena's face. "I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing would have been to trust me, to trust us, to come to me and tell me what she said, instead of making decisions about our lives without me. I was scared. So was I. I'm scared every day. Scared that I'm not good enough for you. Scared that I don't know how to love you the way you deserve. But I was willing to try. I was willing to fight for us. I wanted to fight. But she made it sound like loving me would ruin your life." "Loving you saved my life," Silas said, his voice breaking. "And losing you is what's ruining it." They stared at each other across his office. All the pain and love and regret of the past week hung between them like a wall. "What do we do now?" Lena whispered. "I don't know," Silas said. "You made your choice. You chose to believe her instead of me. Because I love you. If you loved me, you would have fought for me. I am fighting for you. I'm fighting for your future, your happiness. My happiness is you." The words exploded out of him. Don't you understand that? I spent 30 years thinking I was better off alone, thinking I didn't need anyone, and then you walked into my life and showed me what I was missing. You made me feel human, you made me want to be better. Your mother thinks I'm holding you back. My mother thinks anything that makes me happy is dangerous. She raised me to be a machine, not a man. You're the one who taught me the difference. Lena wiped her eyes. So what happens now? Silas walked back to his windows. Now you go to Seattle if that's what you want. Or you stay and we figure out how to work together professionally. But either way, what we had is over. It doesn't have to be. Yes, it does. Because I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me enough to fight for us. I can't love someone who gives up the moment things get difficult. That's not what I did, isn't it? He turned back to her. The first real test of our relationship, and you folded. You let my mother convince you that you weren't good enough for me instead of letting me decide for myself. I was trying to protect you. I don't need your protection, Lena. I need your trust. I need you to believe that what we have is strong enough to survive whatever gets thrown at it. I do believe that. No, you don't. If you did, you never would have walked away. The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. He was right. She had given up. She had let Victoria's words plant seeds of doubt that were already there. I'm sorry, she whispered. So am I, Silas said. I'm sorry I wasn't enough to make you want to fight. I'm sorry I couldn't convince you that you were worth fighting for. You are enough. You're everything. Then why are we here? Lena didn't have an answer. They stood in silence. Two people who loved each other but couldn't find their way back to each other. I should go, Lena said finally. Probably. She walked to the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, these past few months have been the happiest of my life. Mine too, Silas said quietly. That's what makes this so much worse. That night, Lena sat in her apartment staring at the paintings Silas had given her. Pictures of the journey from darkness to light, from isolation to connection. She thought about what he'd said, about trust and fighting and believing in what they had. She thought about Victoria Granger's cold eyes and cruel words. But mostly, she thought about Silas's face when she'd told him she wanted to keep things professional. The way his light had dimmed, the way he'd retreated back into himself. She'd been so focused on protecting him from his mother that she'd forgotten to protect him from herself. Her phone rang. For a moment, hope flared in her chest, but it was her mother. Baby, you sound terrible, her mother said, after Lena said hello. I messed up, Mama. I messed up bad. Tell me what happened. So Lena told her everything. About Silas, about falling in love, about Victoria's threats and her own fears. Let me get this straight, her mother said when she finished. You love this man? Yes. And he loves you? Yes. And you walked away because his mother said mean things to you. She threatened to destroy his company. Baby, did you hear yourself? You just said you love a man who built a billion-dollar company from nothing. You think he can't handle his own mother? Lena was quiet. You let that woman make you feel small, her mother continued. You let her convince you that you weren't good enough. But baby, if that man loves you, then you are exactly good enough. What if she's right? What if I am just a distraction? Then that's his choice to make, not yours. You don't get to decide what's best for someone else's life. You only get to decide what's best for yours. After they hung up, Lena sat in the dark thinking about her mother's words, about choice and trust and fighting for love. She thought about Silas alone in his apartment, probably staring out at the city lights, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. She thought about Victoria Granger, probably pleased with herself for breaking them up so easily. And she thought about the woman she used to be before she let fear make her choices for her. By morning, she knew what she had to do. The first step was confronting Victoria Granger. Lena found the woman's office address online. It was in the financial district, in a building that screamed old money and older prejudices. Victoria's secretary tried to stop her, but Lena pushed past her into the corner office. Miss Brown, Victoria said, not looking up from her papers. How unexpected. We need to talk, Lena said. I thought we covered everything last week. Have you made your decision about Seattle? I have. I'm not going. Victoria finally looked up. I see. Then I suppose I'll have to make good on my threats. Go ahead, threaten away. Try to destroy his company. Try to cut off his funding. Do whatever you want. Victoria raised an eyebrow. I will. No, you won't. Because you can't. Silas told me the truth. You have no power over his business. For the first time, Victoria looked uncertain. But even if you did, Lena continued, I'm done being afraid of you. I'm done letting you decide what's best for your son's life. You have no idea what's best for Silas. Maybe not. But I know what's worst for him. And that's a life without love, without connection, without someone who sees him as more than just a business empire. Love is a weakness. Love is the only thing that makes life worth living. And if you can't see that, then I feel sorry for you. Victoria stood up, her face cold with rage. You little nobody. You think you can come into my family and change everything. I think I already have. Your son was learning to be happy. He was learning to laugh, to feel, to hope. And you can't stand it because it means you're losing control. Silas doesn't need you. Maybe not, but he wants me. And for the first time in his life, he's choosing what he wants instead of what you tell him he should want. He'll come to his senses. No, Lena said firmly. He already has. He finally sees you for what you are, a bitter woman who would rather destroy her son's happiness than admit she was wrong about love. Victoria's mask slipped completely. Get out. Gladly, but let me leave you with this thought. Silas is going to love someone someday. It might be me, it might be someone else, but it's going to happen. And when it does, you can either be part of his happiness or you can be alone with your money and your empty victories. Lena walked out, leaving Victoria standing in her perfect office with her perfect composure finally cracked. Now came the hard part. She had to find a way to win back the man she'd pushed away. Lena stood outside Silas's office building at 6 in the morning, clutching a canvas bag and trying to find her courage. She'd been there for an hour, watching the sunrise paint the glass walls gold. Today was the day she would fight for her love, no matter what it cost her. She took the elevator to the 40th floor. Carol wasn't in yet, so Lena walked straight to Silas's office. The door was open. He was already at his desk, working. "We need to talk," she said. Silas looked up, surprised. "I thought we said everything yesterday." "No, we didn't. You talked, I listened, but I never got to really fight." "Lena, please don't make this harder than it has to be." "It has to be hard," she said, stepping into his office and closing the door, "because anything worth having is hard." She walked to his desk and set down her canvas bag. "I brought something for you. I don't want any gifts." "It's not a gift. It's proof." She pulled out a painting. It was the one he'd done on their last night together, when they'd sat on his living room floor surrounded by art and hope. But now it was different. She'd added to it. "You painted about not knowing what you felt," she said. "So I painted what I felt watching you discover it." Silas looked at the canvas. Where his dark, uncertain strokes had been, she'd added light. Not covering his work, but completing it. His confusion became wonder. His fear became hope. His loneliness became love. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. "It's us. It's what we created together, and I almost threw it away because I was scared." "Lena, let me finish. Please, I need to say this." She sat down across from his desk, the same place where she'd sat that first day when she'd walked into the wrong room. "You were right about everything," she said. "I didn't trust you. I didn't trust us. I let your mother's words make me feel small and unworthy. But mostly I let my own fears win." "What fears?" "The fear that maybe she was right, maybe I was just a distraction. Maybe someone like you couldn't really love someone like me. Someone like me, rich, successful, from a different world. And someone like you, a struggling artist from Oakland who didn't even finish college." Silas was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" Lena shook her head. "I see the woman who taught me that feelings aren't weakness. I see the person who made me believe I was worth loving. I see someone who made colors mean something, who made food taste better, who made my apartment feel like home." Tears started down Lena's face. "I see the only person who ever looked at me and saw Silas instead of Silas Granger, CEO," he continued. "The only person who ever made me want to be better, not for business, but for love." "Then why won't you forgive me?" "Because I'm scared too," he admitted. "I'm scared that the next time something threatens us, you'll run again. I'm scared that you don't believe in us enough to fight." "Then let me prove it to you." She reached into her bag again and pulled out a resignation letter. "What's that?" Silas asked. "My resignation. I'm quitting." "What? Why?" "Because you were right. We can't have both. We can't work together and be together, not with all the complications and people talking and your mother interfering. So I'm choosing us." Silas stared at the letter. "I can't let you give up your career for me. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing. For the first time since this whole thing started, I'm making my own choice instead of letting fear or other people make it for me. But your job, your team, everything you've built here, I can build it somewhere else. But I can't build what we have with someone else." Silas looked at her with something like wonder. "You're really willing to give up everything?" I'm willing to give up a job. I'm not giving up everything. I'm fighting for everything. What if I can't trust you again? What if I can't get past this? Then we'll work on it. Every day until you can. I'll prove to you that I'm not going anywhere. I'll prove that I believe in us more than I believe in fear. And if it takes a long time, then it takes a long time. Love isn't supposed to be easy, Silas. It's supposed to be worth it. Silas stood up and walked to his windows. The city was waking up below them. People starting their day, going about their lives. But up here, their whole future hung in the balance. I visited your mother yesterday, Lena said. He turned around. You what? I went to her office. I told her I wasn't backing down. I told her she could threaten me all she wanted, but I wasn't giving up on you. What did she say? She called me a nobody, said you'd come to your senses. And what did you say? I told her that you already had, that you finally saw her for what she really is. Silas walked back to his desk, picked up the painting, and studied it again. You really added to this. I couldn't stand to see it unfinished, just like I can't stand to see us unfinished. What if we try again and I mess it up? What if I don't know how to forgive? What if I can't get past the hurt? Then we'll learn together, like we learned everything else. Silas set the painting down and looked at her, really looked at her. She could see him thinking, weighing, deciding. I love you, he said finally. I love you too. I'm still hurt. I know. I hurt you and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's going to take time for me to trust again. I know. I'll wait. And if my mother tries to interfere again, then we'll handle her together, both of us. No more secrets. No more trying to protect each other from the truth. Silas was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked around his desk and stood in front of her. Stand up, he said. She stood. They were face to face, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his blue eyes. If we do this, he said, if we try again, there are rules. Okay, no more running when things get hard. No more running. No more making decisions about our relationship without talking to me first. Never again. And no more letting other people tell you what you're worth. You're worth everything to me, everything. I'm learning to believe that, and I need you to promise me something else. Anything. Promise me you'll never quit a job for me again. Build your career, chase your dreams. I want to support them, not replace them. Lena smiled through her tears. So you're not accepting my resignation? I'm tearing it up, but I am accepting your apology. Does that mean you forgive me? It means I want to try. It means I love you too much to let fear win. He reached out slowly, carefully, and touched her face. His thumb brushed away her tears. Can I ask you something? He said. Anything. That first day when you walked into the wrong room, if you had known who I was, known what you were walking into, would you have stayed? Lena thought about it. Yes. Because even then, even in those first 15 minutes, I could see who you really were underneath all the walls. I could see how lonely you were, how much you needed someone to see you. And now, knowing everything that comes with loving me, my mother, the complications, all of it, now I know that loving you is the best thing I've ever done, and I'm not giving it up without a fight. Silas smiled then, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. Good, because I'm not either. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, but she didn't want to. She wanted this, wanted him, wanted everything they could be together. When his lips touched hers, it was soft and careful and full of all the words they hadn't said. It was forgiveness and hope and the promise of something beautiful. When they broke apart, Silas rested his forehead against hers. So what happens now? He asked. Now we start over, slowly, carefully, honestly. And your job, I keep it. But maybe we talk to HR about how to handle office relationships properly. And my mother, we handle her together, set boundaries, show her that what we have is real and strong and not going anywhere. And us, we love each other, we trust each other, we fight for each other. Silas pulled back to look at her. I liked the sound of that. Me too. They heard footsteps in the hallway. Carol was arriving for work, and soon the office would be full of people and meetings and the normal chaos of business. We should probably get back to work, Lena said. Probably. But Silas didn't move away from her. People will talk if they see us like this. Let them talk. I'm done hiding how I feel about you. Your shareholders might not like having a CEO who's in love. Then they can find another CEO. This one comes with a heart now, and I'm not giving it back. Lena laughed, and the sound filled his office with warmth. I love you, Silas Granger. I love you too, Lena Brown, and I'm never letting you walk into the wrong room again. Good thing, because I plan on staying in the right room for a very long time. They stood there holding each other as the sun climbed higher outside his windows. The city buzzed with life below them, full of people starting their day, chasing their dreams, fighting their own battles. But up here in this room where it all began, two people had found their way back to each other. They'd learned that love wasn't just about the good times, it was about fighting through the bad times. It was about choosing each other every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. 6 months later, Lena's art was hanging in galleries across the city. Her user experience work had revolutionized 3 major app launches. And every Friday night, she still went to Silas's apartment to cook dinner and paint until their hands were covered in colors and their hearts were full. Victoria Granger had stopped her threats. When she realized her son was happier than she'd ever seen him, she still didn't approve, but she'd learned to keep her opinions to herself. And Silas had learned something his mother never could teach him, that the best kind of strength didn't come from standing alone. It came from having someone worth standing with. On a Tuesday morning in spring, Lena walked into Silas's office carrying coffee and a new painting. She'd been doing that every Tuesday for months now, bringing him small pieces of art that captured moments from their life together. "What's this one?" he asked, taking the canvas. It was a simple painting of 2 hands reaching for each other across empty space, just touching, fingers barely grazing. "It's the moment," she said. "Right before you kissed me that first time. When you were scared and I was scared, but we reached for each other anyway." Silas studied the painting, remembering that night in his apartment when everything had changed. "You know what I realized?" he said. "What?" "That whole day, from the moment you walked into the wrong room, was really you walking into the right room, the room you were supposed to be in all along, even with all the pain we went through. Especially because of it, because it taught us how to fight for love instead of just falling into it." Lena smiled and walked around his desk to kiss him. "I love your brain, Silas Granger." "And I love your heart, Lena Brown." Outside his office, life went on. People worked and loved and struggled and dreamed, but inside, 2 people who had found each other against all odds continued writing their story together. One day, one choice, one moment of courage at a time. And they lived not quite happily ever after, because real love isn't about perfect happiness. They lived honestly ever after, fighting for each other through every joy and sorrow that came their way, together,